JPEGMAFIA and Danny Brown are here to restore honor to the Deluxe album. Cause I ain't even gonna hold you, 90% of these things be sloppy seconds from mid to decent albums that were probably already too long. It'd be like watching a junior varsity game, but after the varsity team already played. But every now and then we get an exception to get a fire deluxe album like that Call Me If You Get Lost Deluxe. This should be another exception. The original album that dropped a few months ago was phenomenal. So far this year, it's the top 1 or 2 album for me. Production we got from JPEGMAFIA was flawless. His use of samples, especially the way he was chopping up some of those vocal samples to create percussion, perfection. The chemistry between JPEGMAFIA and Danny Brown was even better than it looked on paper. And then both Danny and Peggy was really in a bag with the rapping, especially when it came to how they was punching. We finna get FOMO with this project, no fear of missing out. That's a bar. Let's get to it.
Going back for what, big boy? I'm an outcast, still outclassed. Show baby rapping no hits, boy. This offshore costs more than yours.
Man, he getting back in the same bag he used on Lean Beef Patty and Fentanyl Tester with the pitched up vocal samples. But it don't sound nearly as abrasive as those two songs because they got these smooth, watery keys under it. I like the drums too.
Still hating to my outbound. Ain't crying over no spill milk. Fucking bitches like whip still. Minute out the knees, got a gang still or locked up, filled up with your butt.
Cheese like with the stuff. Hey, Wilt Chamberlain was going crazy. I don't know, that nigga scored more on the court or off the court.
I'm Detroit Red on a whole lot of egg out. In my pocket and I got that check.
Detroit Red Malcolm X on a whole lot of eggs. That's a good flip.
No time to be looking out. Keep it
This
on if you try to
modulation
down.
is
What the fuck is you talking about? Chill out, homie, and watch your mouth.
Money can't save you, bitch. Them guards can't save you, bitch. Your pimp just
They've
playing
had
you, bitch.
3 different drum
Like,
patterns.
you rich. You can tell it was raised like some bitches. Pretty niggas always want a kick. Give the sentence cause they want an image that pick up all of your evidence, bitch. Rappers getting extorted. White hoes you can't afford it. Got a chicken with they daddy. Or they get pushed down the toilet.
Alright, that's a solid song. Definitely not a throwaway track. That beat can probably go toe-to-toe with anything on the original album. The aesthetic gives those pitched up vibes of Lean Beef Patties mixed with that smooth vibe of like an Orange Juice Jones. Super dynamic beat as well. The different drum patterns, the modulations, the way they use different parts of that vocal sample. Beat was A1. I don't think the rapping was anything extraordinary. Danny Brown had the better verse. He didn't have any outlandish punch like he did all through the original album, but he had a dope flow in his singy-songy delivery was fire. JPEGMAFIA's verse wasn't bad, it just wasn't amazing. I thought the second half of the verse was better than the first half of the verse when he started getting his more mix between melodic and yelling back. Couple lines that made me smirk, but nothing stand out, but I think that was solid. This is HERMANOS. The horn sounds super grand.
Narcissist arsonist in my arsenal. Crumble tunnel, cause I was holding and I work at the.
Son, this sample is sick. I thought the last track sounded like something that could have been on the A side. This sounds completely different. We may get a modulation or something, but so far it's completely opposite of that maximalism on the last track. You're getting a simple sample loop, simple drums, reminiscent of 90s hip hop. And am I tripping or does this sample sound similar to Umi Says by Mos Def? Really the bass line particularly, but this is tough.
Narcissist arsonist in my arsenal. Crumble tunnel, cause I was holding and I work at the.
Then Danny Brown came out here rapping that R alliteration.
Now everything I tried, it ain't got no gas. Been that nigga in the city since Arctic Blast. Big body out of this world, she got a mark.
What y'all know about them Arctic Blasts? Them new ices don't even hit the same, man.
Big body out of this world, she got a Martian ass. You always with the niggas need.
That's so stupid. Out of this world got a Martian, but that's stupid. I like it though. That's what I expect from Danny Brown.
Get the fuck about my face before I smack the ass backwards with the average that like they can't get much better rapper. To prevail like the king of pop said. Ain't fuck with no perks since they found Prince dead.
The Will Prevail line to the Prince line, I like that.
Cap, this bitch got 4 heads and you think it's all rap. Tell them niggas all dead. All dead.
Cool, that's a witty line. Think it's all raps, hair rap. My chick got bald heads, my gun got the bald head bullets. Come on, man.
The black Konami Chico, more mixed in the Rico. The toast been conditioned like serving up a mojito. Overworked
That's
so all of my
tough,
talent.
dog. That's tough. I liked all those opening bars. The Konami cheat code, that's nostalgic. A little bit before my time with Steel. Then R.I.P. Mitch, that was a real nigga, but the gun mint condition because mojitos got mint in it. That's hard.
Up the score, up the rebound, and run with the free throw. Oh, she want the nerd with her. Go figure. Post too hard for the.
That's a good rhyme scheme on those opening bars too.
Gave me the leg up, and that ain't even the kicker. Dropping, scaring the hoes, and I'm terrifying the niggas. Wait, I got this down to a T. Sharp.
Yo, he used a hard ER with it too. Yeah, it did scare the niggas too.
Tables turn like Serato with death.
That Lego kicking line is fire too. Peggy is a madman, dog. Yo, this nigga JPEGMAFIA can take a sample from anywhere. It sound like he took that sample from this Latin ballad. That song has no business sounding that good being looped like that. And then the extended instrumental was just showing off. To use the part of the sample that should be even harder to flip and then throw the 808s over it. I thought the rapping undercheat slightly on the first song. Not the case here. These niggas went off. Danny Brown went off. I love the imagery on his verse going back to growing up and being dirt broke. He got about 3 different flows and all of them were fire. Clever lines mixing there too. And then JPEGMAFIA, punch out the punch. I especially love how he opened his verse. Excellent song, sick beat, sick verses. This is Tell Me Where to Go.
Hanging on to my soul. Taught to stand tall, never fold.
I like Danny Brown in this deeper register. Sounds good in it.
You see the day trapped in this rat race, but snakes the only one I eat today. So tell me where to go where I can't feel pain no more. See, I've been doing the most, but got nothing to show. Supposed to grow like beautiful afro.
He's been rapping, man. The imagery's been on point. His last couple of lines had a 5-syllable rhyme scheme. Niggas turned it up since the first track. They can't hit a rap.
Used to love her, I thought for sure that she would have my child. When I hugged her, I thought for sure she wasn't even wild. When I fucked her, was thinking of you cause I'm still a child. That's my inner child. It takes on who you are. You've been working almost a decade, you ain't getting far. I take them notes you wrote. I won't pretend that my scars never bleed. I got that kid's blood, ain't even elected. Hold up, it's about to get rough.
I love that line. That line's fire. He been talking about childhood trauma, saying his scars don't bleed. He said, I got the kid's blood, not even elected, which play off like the little Illuminati stuff, saying that politicians sacrifice kids in order to get in office. Hey, you know what? That might not scare the hoes. That might just put them on alert. That might alarm the hoes. Yeah, that was a smooth sample. I love the vocal sample. And then that bass guitar in this song was nuts. I like that last line for JPEGMAFIA, but I thought his verse was fine. It had like a slower pace to it. It took a little bit for it to get going in my opinion, but it was dope hearing him getting personal, especially following up Danny Brown's verse. More of him detailing and reminiscing on his childhood, but this verse had a little bit more uplifting, triumphant feel than his verse on Hermanos. I thought he had the better verse of the two just from his flows. He got some nice pockets as far as rhyme scheme. Solid verse from Peggy too, and I think that's another dope song. This is no. Nah, it's a lot of no's. Yeah.
No turning back.
Yo, gospel samples is undefeated in rap. Hey, tell Danny Brown to behave though. That nigga need to be asked for forgiveness on his verse for what he did on that God Loves You on the A side.
When I was just 18, the judge put me on the list. Bitch, I ain't Baby Keem. My cousin ain't gave me shit. They don't want no Peggy on the scene.
Yo, hey, Baby Keem kinda nice, but that is straight nepotism.
In these rappers, we ain't saying grace. I'm finna slide in your girl like I'm safe. Doubled up on these niggas like bass.
This verse line funny too.
I'm finna make us a bull of day. Get shit faced, I only want faces. Think my shit lace cause you think it's so basic. Cut the base.
I think it's lace cause basic play on free basing. I like that line.
Just the same as she wasted. Call them on when I hate it, she shaking. Yeah! And you hate that. No
Dude, this is nuts, dog.
All stacks they cost you, call back with offers. All like the boss, I toss up down back. I hit my mouse, flat, and dick, cover the track.
Yo, the pockets they get on it is just nuts.
Dropping on the one like South Godfather. Fuck that niggas heads up like county jail barbers. More highs than Miss Parker.
That's a Fire Friday flip.
And lows like blind dates, I rise like crime rates when unemployment is up. You side with that thing, they know fucking with us.
Yo, he's going back to back with the punch of the Miss Parker line, the rise like crime rates. This nigga's in his bag, man.
Cut you like you forgot your lines. Jogging early with the rolling, that's a
The cut like you forgot the lines. Come on, man. Is that the same sample? It is the same sample. They took a no turning back. Jeez, that's a crazy flip. That's nuts.
I'm high. Croy. Remember days for dinner all we had was egg rolls? But I feel like a target. Pardon me if I come off
Dang, why is
aggressive,
he
extra
snapping?
defensive, offended by your presence. I'm gonna give you a lesson. This is chess, not checkers. Came too far to get nearsighted, lights blinded, no guidance.
Came too
Going
far to
off
get
track,
nearsighted.
running lights, railroad, blindsided. Used to think I know it all, but now I don't know.
Dawg, that's fire. It's hard to say because these last 3 songs have been nuts, but this might be my favorite song. The vocal sound, for him to just chop up that one word with them saying no and turn it to a whole beat is crazy. And then the way that he started chopping up the sample in between each verse, different. And it has a completely different vibe from any other song on this EP and on the full project. JPEGMAFIA came through with probably his best verse. It felt like vintage Peggy with the aggression and then the punching. But even with that, I still think Danny Brown had the better verse. This nigga was in rare form on this song. Hilarious punching back to back, just like Peggy, but even more punchlines. And then that acapella joint on the end, nuts. The wordplay with it gave me vibes of like what Absol will do with chaining the wordplay together. And that's kind of how this whole little 4-pack went. I think overall, this is a fire deluxe. Production was fire from start to finish. All 4 songs seemed really fresh. I think the first song was probably the lightest. I do like it, but after hearing the other 3 songs, I think it just offered a little bit less than those, but still sick beat on it. And it did sound like it could fit with the A-side. But then him stripping down his production style on Hermanos, giving us that simple loop and finding that eclectic sample, smooth joint with the 3rd sample, and then that last song beat was nuts. Peggy laced these beats, but Danny Brown was in rare form. I thought he had the better verse on all 4 songs, and then they just kept getting better and better. I like how he got personal on all 3 of those last songs. That's really the bag he gets in all his best projects. Hearing him rap about being down and out both present day and in his past, reminiscent of some of his later projects, like maybe a mix of Atrocity Exhibition and Hybrid of XXX. Content-wise speaking, I think JPEGMAFIA was pretty good. This is the best Peggy by any stretch of the imagination. I think his last verse is probably his best verse, but we got a little bit more from him on the full album. I do like him experimenting, getting more personal and telling me where to go. And overall, he brought it just to a lesser extent as Danny Brown. But yeah, dope little project. My faith in Deluxe albums has now been restored.